Continental Congress. Second Continental Congress. This one gets a little good, a little western. Remember we told you that the First Continental Congress had so much success that the delegates to the First Continental Congress had agreed to assemble again in the spring? Well, this is what they're doing, and it happens on May 10th of 1775. May 10th of 1775. Before or after Lexington and Concord? After. Okay? And they again met in Philadelphia. Now, talk about the personalities of these delegates from these different colonies. You had two different types. You had radical and conservative delegates. And I'll tell you the difference. So the delegates that meet on May 10th, 1775 in the Second Continental Congress represent both the radical side of things and the conservative side of things. A radical is a person that's favoring extreme changes, right? A radical is someone that is favoring extreme changes. And a conservative is someone that is very cautious on their viewpoints. Okay? So radical is a person favoring extreme changes, and a conservative is someone that is very cautious before making a decision. You're conservative. You've got to think it out. Where a radical is someone that says, let's kick butt and take names. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you some examples of a couple of different delegates, one that was radical and one that was conservative. First one we'll talk about was Patrick Henry of Virginia. Patrick Henry of Virginia. Which was he? Radical. He was radical. He represented the radicals. So he's calling for extreme action against the British. Okay? And he's got three things that he thinks that the American colonies need to do. Okay? So the first delegate is Patrick Henry of Virginia. He will represent the radicals, and he's calling for extreme action. What does he want to do concerning the British? Anybody want to guess? One of the three things he wants to do? Not before that. We've already kind of done. There's no declaration of war here because you don't have an organized situation. So what's he calling for right off the bat? Independence. Okay? First thing he's doing is he's calling that we declare independence from Great Britain. So his first extreme action would be that the American colonies declare their independence from Great Britain. Second thing he proposes is that they seize all British officials in the colonies, kidnap them, arrest them, whatever you want to call it. Seize all British officials in the colonies. Anybody that has anything to do with the British government, seize them, jail them. And knowing that we cannot probably win a war against the British by ourselves, what's his third proposed extreme action?
Ally with.
Ask both France and Spain to assist us. He thought they'd be more than happy to against Great Britain because both of them are enemies of Great Britain. So the radical side of these delegates, Patrick Henry of Virginia, calls for extreme action. He says, we need to declare our independence from Great Britain. We need to seize all British officials, arrest them, and put them in jail that are in the colonies. And we need to contact both France and Spain for assistance, because we probably can't win this war on our own. And he ends his speech with this famous cry of,
Give me liberty.
give me liberty, very good, or give me death. Very good. So he ends his speech to the delegation of the Second Continental Congress by stating, give me liberty or give me death, showing his radical nature. Give me liberty or give me death. Okay, there's always two sides to delegates, so we'll tell you about the conservative delegate that spoke out. His name, John Dickinson. John Dickinson. And he will represent the conservatives. And this is what he says. Instead of give me liberty or give me death, I want you to write this down, and then I want you to tell me what he's saying. So here's what he says. We have not raised armies with ambitious designs from separating from Great Britain. We have not raised armies with ambitious designs from separating from Great Britain. We have not raised armies with ambitious designs from separating from Great Britain. We have not raised armies with ambitious designs from separating from Great Britain, but will resist tyranny with force if necessary. But will resist tyranny with force if necessary. And I'll spell that for you. So this is what conservatives said, led by John Dickinson. We have not raised armies with ambitious designs from separating from Great Britain. What's he saying there? We have raised armies, but our intention is not to separate from Great Britain, declare independence. But we will resist tyranny, T-Y-R-A-N-N-Y, with force if necessary. So here's what the conservatives stated, the Second Continental Congress. We have not raised armies with ambitious designs from separating from Great Britain, but will resist tyranny with force if necessary. What's he saying, Cody? We're not raising these militia armies to separate from Great Britain to declare independence, but we will use force against what?
Tyranny.
What is that?
It's
unreasonable demands upon them, right? Like the Stamp Act and this and that and whatever. So what the conservatives are saying, are they for independence from Great Britain? No. But we'll use this militia to resist you if you put us in a position that we feel you're being tyrants against us. That's what he's saying. Okay? So he had two different viewpoints. Now, on both sides, to show the British they meant business, the Second Continental Congress established a continental army. To show the British that they meant business, the Second Continental Congress established a continental army. And who did they put in charge of that?
George Washington.
George Washington. So they are establishing a continental army, an army that will be represented by all 13 colonies. Is this different than a militia? Yeah, because each colony is going to have their own militia, am I right? But this is going to be an overall continental army led by George Washington. Do members of the Massachusetts militia technically required to take orders from Washington? No. They take orders from their militia commanders who by rights should be working together with George Washington. But the bottom line is, these militia soldiers do not have to take orders from George Washington. But you'll see that they work together. Hey, what I'm giving you here is a little bit of feedback for me to see if I'm doing very good. So this simple evaluation form of what we've learned today needs to be filled out and put in this basket right here by the end of the period. And it's asking you about the lecture today. If you want to know what an aha is where you went, oh, really? Wow. Gee whiz. Whatever. So I want you to fill that out. You don't have to put your name on it. Matter of fact, I would prefer if you did not. Well, you can if you want. I'm just trying to get a little feedback from you guys on what you thought the lecture was about today. Tomorrow we will begin and talk about another major battle in the pre-Revolutionary War, which is the Battle of Breeds, or sometimes called Bunker Hill. You've probably heard of that before.